I remember you. You were tiny even at an age when I was probably only pushing 3 feet tall. One of my earliest memories is of our mom getting ready for your funeral. At the time, I didn't have the capacity to understand what we had lost. Now that I'm an adult with children of my own, I feel your presence in my life like a phantom limb, a tingling along the edge of my existence. Your absence somehow grows more apparent with every new memory I make. You should have been here. I find myself documenting moments like this, videos with no real purpose that no one is ever likely to watch, except for my wife as she scrolls through my phone on a lazy weekend afternoon. When we laugh as we look back on this memory, I wonder if I recorded this for you. You would have been a brother-in-law, an uncle to my children. Maybe I would have been an uncle too. This is our dog, Baxter. He's an important member of our family. We love him for his often stoic attitude, and even more for the way he becomes animated around his best friends. Sometimes I imagine you would have been like this, maybe because it's a little like how I see myself. When Baxter quietly submits to our silliness, when he comes out of his shell and reveals another side of himself, I remember you. You should have been here. The streets were packed with people speaking words I only barely understood. My wife was my anchor, translating for me on the fly at street market stalls and dinners with new friends. But I could have used a wingman, someone just as lost and awestruck as me, while I wandered among buildings covered with the cultural artifacts of a people I'd only begun to connect with. I needed a fellow traveler who would have been as simultaneously mystified and amused as I was by bars named Mistake Room, restaurants named Crappies, clothing stores called Chupin. My wife would smile at my obsession with these strange naming conventions, these collisions of Western and Eastern culture, but she didn't feel them the way you would have. One of the first things that most people tell me when they find out that I'm an only child is, "Oh, you're so lucky." Lucky to have been bored and lonely through most of my youth, socially awkward because I had no one my age at home to teach me how to interact. Only I wasn't always only. I wasn't always the one filming the strange art exhibit and feeling like the guy on the video in every crowded room, a stranger making a fool of himself for no apparent reason. I was supposed to have you. Sometimes I think that no one will ever really know me the way you would have. You would have known that my favorite band is Coheed and Cambria. But more than that, you would have known why I listened to them. You would have known that they meld story and music in a way that I've always wanted to in my own life, with my early interest in composition and fiction. 12 years after I first discovered them, you would have been beside me and helped me protect my wife from the roaring and raucous crowd, as I stood, still amazed at their ability to do what I always wished I would have. I wonder if you'd been there to encourage me, to see that seed of want well tended. Would I have made more of myself than I did in my young adult life? Would I struggle as much with depression and anxiety as I sometimes still do? Maybe you would have too. Or maybe you'd have balanced my tendency towards pessimism with a more hopeful perspective. Maybe you'd have kept me from making so many senseless mistakes for so long. This is you at the Great Chicago Fire Festival in 2014. The city's leadership attempted to commemorate one of the more tragic events in municipal history by burning down fake mansions floating in the middle of the river, while thousands of people looked on. Like you, the initial burst of flame was brilliant, but soon it became clear that it couldn't cling to life for long. Your audience found solidarity in their frustration at having shown up for what turned out to be a second-rate spectacle, a slightly charred floating facade in the shadow of Trump Tower. All around me, people were connecting in their disdain for the event, playfully shouting insults at the mayor or offering their suggestions on how to correct you, becoming gleefully unified in the way that crowds often do. But I stood alone amongst all those people and I watched you burn. Your fire may not have been impressive or long-lived, but some spark of it will forever smolder in my soul. And so as the world finally turns away, disinterested, I will still carry you with me, my phantom sibling, your ghost as my conscience, for as long as I live.